Back here at home, 151. That is how many homicides the city of Birmingham investigated in 2024, breaking a record that has stood since before World War II.
Obviously, that's cause for concern for residents and city officials alike. I recently sat down with the top city official, Mayor Randall Woodfin, to talk about these and other issues facing the city. He tells me he takes everything that happens within Birmingham's borders personally. According to U.S. News and World Report, Birmingham is the fourth most dangerous city in the country. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment?
You know, as a brother who lost a brother to gun violence, as a uncle who lost a nephew to gun violence, as a son that still has a grieving mother, I don't think of this as stats and numbers. I think about my own family. I think about my own family member, a first cousin who lost not one but two children in the city limits of Birmingham to gun violence at two separate times in 2024. That's unbearable. That's unbearable. The pain, the weight, the raw hurt and emotion that scores of families have had to live with and have had to unfortunately join my family in how that feels. That's awful for families in our community. There's nobody more committed than I am in making sure more families don't feel that way.
Part of that commitment was to appoint a Birmingham Crime Commission to find solutions to the city's growing rate of homicides. They came up with 5 recommendations to target the problem. Let's go through the solutions and what they actually look like. How do you get more cops on the street?
We got to be real, Guy. We have to acknowledge that this is not a Birmingham problem alone. Nationwide, mid and large-sized cities have been short of officers. Officers got beat up post George Floyd for 3 years. And then all of a sudden we expect that a new generation just wants to be officers. We have to reorient ourselves around how do we create a new generation of officers. No different than how do hospitals create a new generation of nurses who are short. How do superintendents and principals create a new generation of teachers who are also short. And so our frontline workers, first responders, et cetera, teachers, nurses, police officers, we got to figure out a way to talk with them. We believe the $16 million package includes the best way of how to engage them, how to recruit, where to recruit, how to message, how to communicate, et cetera. We're encouraged by the fact that we ended 2024 with the highest recruiting we've had since 2020.
The $16 million retainment and recruitment package approved by the City Council includes a signing bonus, quarterly bonuses, and a take-home car program for officers living within city limits. How about the Glock switches? What can be done here to make them ban Glock switches in Montgomery? I mean, it has to come from the state, right?
These conversion devices harm and hurt people at the maximum level, and it ends up being a lot of innocent people because you can't control the gun. It ends up spraying bullets in a few seconds. That's not meant for our domestic streets. I don't care what you say, I don't care what your party is. None of that makes any sense. Therefore, we need a state law that bans them. What that does is empower local police, local sheriffs, local DAs, state judges to have the flexibility, to have the power, to have the resources to go after the people that sell, manufacture, and possess them.
As far as collaboration with county, state, and federal authorities, the mayor points to 2020's Operation Nitro as evidence this is already happening.
That was a coordinated effort to literally tamp down on Exhibition Drive, and they started making arrests. I know because you all started reporting on it. That's an example of success, and that success is rooted 100% in collaboration with other agencies such as the Sheriff's Office. We partner with the ATF, we partner with FBI, we partner with DEA. My position is nonpartisan. I want to be very clear. When it comes to the matter of public safety, when it comes to the matter of keeping people safe, the only way to do it is through partnership. And the only way to do it is set partisan politics aside, because no one cares. They just want to be safe, feel safe, and that's what we need to provide.
You also talked about educational and workforce opportunities. What do you envision that will keep young people from doing crime?
One, we need our parents. Your child has to go to school. School is not an option. We need butts in the seats. They have to learn. It's the safest place for them to be when school is in. In the summertime, we need more enrichment programs. They need to be robust. We need a better unified sports programs for our children that they can matriculate at every level, not just sports, but arts and everything else. We have to make sure we do everything we can for our young boys. And then when it comes to young black men, I am very, very sincere in what I'm about to tell you. We got to employ them.
How do you respond to folks who say it's the same old problems with the same old solutions?
We'll do everything we can. But let's admit, Birmingham, some of this goes beyond policing and government. We need families to be families. We need parents to be parents. We need community to be community. We need the culture to change. There's a culture of retaliation that exists in the city of Birmingham. There's a culture of no snitching in Birmingham. We gotta break that up. There's a culture of complacency and not sending our children to school and just letting them roam the street. We gotta break that up.
Culture is hard to change.
Culture is always hard to change, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't fight to make culture better. It just takes consistent work. We end up doing the Spider-Man meme where everyone points at the other person and says, no, it's your job. Oh, no, it's your job. You're responsible. I'm the mayor of the city of Birmingham. I'm a leader. And I take responsibility for the things I am responsible for. And I am committed to making this city safer. But I need every adult walking alongside me to do that, because it cannot be just one person. And I'm telling you, it can't just be the police.
Now in the last year of his second term, how does Woodfin rate the job he's done as mayor? Is it good enough for another term?
I think that I have done everything I can and doing everything I can, and will continue and committed to do more. All three.
And he hopes to do more as he's running for a third term. The mayor told me while we broke a record on the number of homicides in the city, the year ended with crime down in all other categories. As for next steps in implementing the commission report, the mayor didn't provide an exact timeline. He did tell me tonight their BPD recruiting efforts are working. Applications are up, and 90 people are being vetted for advancement into their March 2025 class. Right now, you can find my full 25-minute conversation with Mayor Woodfin on our website or the free WVTM 13 app. We also break down the Crime Commission report section by section to help you get a better understanding of where the city stands with these issues.